So hello and welcome back to the Middlemen podcast. It's just been crazy for sport, really, with the Winter Olympics, the time of year where we all fall in love with bobsleighing and everything else that goes on there, skiing, and I love it's not shuffleboarding, what is it? It's
the curling.
Curling, oh,
yeah,
it's great.
Yeah.
I love the curling. Have you been watching it?
I haven't yet because I'm a bit. The thing is, I'm a bit uncommitted with the Olympics. I must confess.
No,
do you know what I mean?
It's fine.
But no, the winter one is fun. Like I'll catch it on my TV sometimes, and they're just like people are just on their two skis doing like quadruple backflips. I'm just sat here on my sofa watching these proper world class athletes go spinning in where are they at? Beijing.
Yeah, Beijing. I was waiting for Forest Leicester, and before Forest Leicester, it was the figure skating.
Right.
I think it was BBC One or BBC Two. It's so funny watching it.
Yeah,
and
it's
you just think
crazy,
back to like going to the motor point in Nottingham and giving it a go, and the ice centre in Nottingham, and try and compare yourself to them. It's impossible.
Exactly. I'm more like Bambi than I am a figure skater on ice.
Bambi on ice. But you're better in the ring. Max said a sports ground for those videos. But loads going on in the boxing world, and that's where we should start. Chris Eubank Jr. settling for a unanimous decision as he beat Liam Williams in Cardiff on Saturday night. Loads to discuss about this fight. Williams, despite being knocked down 4 times, survived the full 12 rounds. There was no chance of any upset, though, really, on the judges' scorecards. If you watched the fight, a dominant Eubank performance. His hand speed, as you quite rightly mentioned on Twitter, was remarkable. Yet he couldn't secure a knockout. And first off, let's make no bones about it, the better man won of the night. That's my opinion anyway. Williams, at times, looked like a rabbit in the headlights. And Eubank, when he started and ended the bout with knockdowns. Where do you want to begin? Because there's so much to discuss. I think if we start with whether or not you believe Eubank saying that he purposely dragged out the fight to punish Liam Williams, I think that's the best place to start, because to me that just sounds like an excuse. Johnny Nelson said he doesn't believe it. I don't believe it. This was the quote from Chris Eubank. If I stepped on the gas at any point in the fight, he would have been gone. I'm sorry, yeah, exactly. No professional boxer resists the chance of a knockout. It doesn't happen. It just doesn't. And to me, Eubank saying that, all it does, it encourages and fuels his critics even more. So, Max, do you believe him that he wanted to punish Williams by dragging out that fight?
It's just, do you know what I mean? When you've got especially a company man like Johnny Nelson, who more of the time is going to side with the fighters and what they say in interviews, you know you said something wrong if Johnny Nelson ain't buying it. Do you know what I mean? You need to sort out how you're coming across in your interviews and what you're saying, and it is an excuse. I don't know, like, there's no point in saying that because the fans watched the fight. Everyone watched it. Everyone who watched it knows how he performed and knows that that is not the case. So what is the point in saying it? It's not like he's saying that to a stadium of people who didn't just watch him for 12 rounds. Everyone saw what he was doing. So no, they knew he couldn't finish the fight, and yeah, he just had a very I don't know, I feel like his ability just fluctuated throughout the fight. Like, as you said, started and finished it really strong, and then obviously Liam's our boy. We know how tough he is. Everyone, I think a lot of people were getting too excited. Obviously 4 knockdowns, you know, you're doing something wrong if you're...
He's got real heart, hasn't he? He's got real heart and real passion, but on the night...
Yeah, I think he just got, as you said, with a rabbit in the headlights, he got a bit shocked, a bit stunned too early on. Maybe didn't expect that level of hand speed from Eubank, and before he knew it, you know, he was on the floor a couple of times. But he done well to recover and go into the fight, and then he was winning a lot of those middle rounds. So fair play to him. His heart is amazing, because a lot of people will just, you know, you get knocked down 4 times, you think, even if I go back into this fight, I'm not winning it. But that's not Williams' mentality. He's just there to fight. So fair play to him. But yeah, you can see the influence that Roy Jones has had on Eubank as a fighter now. The way he just had his left hand on the hip, and he just was able to fire the check off. And you know, they weren't even a few of those knockdowns weren't even knockdowns that looked like they had hurt Liam. They just were flashy ones. Just took his balance away before he knew it, and do you know what I mean? Had him up on the scorecards and had Liam in a sticky position for the rest of the fight. So
do you think Chris has always got the advantage of having his dad, Roy Jones Jr. He's had the boxing life throughout his whole life. He's got a great corner, and people know who he is. He's already got the advantage going into a fight. Liam Williams, if you're not a boxing fan, I don't know how many people would know who Liam Williams is. You say Chris Eubank Jr., everyone knows who he is.
It's a household name, isn't it, at the end of the day? And you know, you were saying about his team that he's got around him with his dad. He's got a boxing legend two boxing legends, his dad and Roy Jones. He's set up for success. And the only thing is that I'm not too much of a fan of the way people talk about him online, because I'm really opposite to being one of his fans. I've always found it hard to like him. I did when I was a little bit younger, but obviously watching him, you watch him say stuff like that, as we were talking about in the post-match interviews, and how full of himself he is. It's hard to like him sometimes.
It's exactly what Fraser Clark said. Not a massive fan, but you have to give him credit on the night.
Yeah, you have to. And this guy is set up for success, and he's, I guess, it depends what you want to compare as success in the pro game. But everyone was saying like, he's not good enough for a world title. Does that just mean he's a bad boxer? And is that what we're doing in 2022? Is saying someone who's not winning a world title is a bad boxer? Or I just think a lot of people put that expectation on him because of what his dad achieved, and because of how full of himself he is. Everyone says, do you know what I mean? If you like yourself that much, then go and be as successful as you want to. So I guess he's fallen short of some expectations, but you can't sit there and just because he hasn't won a world title say that he's a bad boxer by any means. He's a great boxer, and he showed that on Saturday.
Yeah, you do, and we'll get on to what's next for Eubank in a bit. But something you said there, and you kind of said that the occasion might have got the better of Williams. I agree.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of bad blood between these two. They really didn't like each other, and that's what I wanted to talk to you about. Williams, I thought, was perhaps trying to overcompensate for the fact that maybe he was a bit of an underdog, especially before the fight. A couple of questions. One, should he have been disqualified during the fight, Liam Williams? The headlocking, the pushing, he kind of squeezed Eubank at one point. I know Eubank said after the fight he was amazed that Williams wasn't disqualified, but then Eubank also bit Williams.
Yeah. He said in the same
swings and roundabouts,
he should have got disqualified, but I bit him. I mean, I guess if Williams is playing like that, then Eubank's going to play like that, and I guess that whole bite thing with Eubank was a reaction to how Williams was fighting, and do you know what I mean? Eubank said also in that same quote that that's what he was expecting. So why is he talking about it like he's shocked when he's watched? I'm sure he studied Williams before the fight and knew that's what he does. I mean, he employed the same tactics against Demetrius Andrade when he fought him for Andrade's belt. He does this. Do you know what I mean? No one was asking for disqualification or.
He's not a pretty fighter.
He's not a pretty fighter, but that's what happens. Especially, think about being in Eubank's position. You're coming down to Cardiff, and say you're Liam Williams. You got a guy that you don't like come into your backyard. Do you know what I mean? You gotta make it a formidable place for him, and yeah, Eubank strolled into his backyard, knocked him down four times in 5 rounds. You're not gonna box pretty after that. You're gonna want to rough him up and try and get him on the level that he's put you on in the early rounds. So I think there was nothing shocking to me about how Liam boxed, and I've seen fighters do worse and get away with it as well. So I think by no means should he have been disqualified. Ref had gave him a lot of talking tos and gave him a few warnings. I guess I don't know. Did they take any points away from him?
No, I don't think they did. But I think Williams will get punished for something that he said before the fight. And after the fight, I was going through all the back pages, all the headlines, and listening to all of the coverage on the radio. It was TalkSport that picked up on this. Williams will be summoned before the British Boxing Board of Control for the comments that he made before the bout, because he told the Telegraph, this is what he said: Eubank makes my skin crawl every time I look at him. I deeply dislike the guy. Okay, fine. I want to kill him, is what he added on the end of it. Now, it's boxing. David Hay, when he fought Belly, if you remember the animosity between those two, and
exactly.
and Hay said it, and it causes a debate, because at the end of the day, kids watch boxing. It's not just a sport for adults, it's a sport for everyone. Not that it's a family sport, because it's not. It's two guys, going toe to toe and trying to hurt each other. But does that kind of language deserve a punishment? It's a hard one.
I think it depends more in the context of, you got to look at what you're saying. And I saw this on Twitter as well. People talking about this massively, especially Adam Abramovitz, a great boxing reporter who I follow on Twitter, was saying it. And was saying how Wilder also said that, and Wilder got loads of backlash for it, whereas it's kind of gone under the radar what Williams has said. But in that context, right, when you're looking at it, comparing what Liam Williams said when Wilder said it, I'm pretty sure he said it about Fury, but Wilder was saying it like he was deadly serious, like scarily, a bit in a sinister way, how how he wants to finish boxing with like a dead body on his record. Now that is serious. That
It's
is
grotesque,
like,
isn't it? Yeah.
that is saying it like you're meaning it. But I think I'm not trying to, do you know what I mean, excuse him and say it's like not a language barrier, but like a way of talking. I think when, like, especially in Wales, you get someone angered and fired up and they're going to fight someone, I don't see, those words are easy
Max
to...
in Popwell on a Wednesday night. with his Welsh accent.
They're easy to come out, but yeah, no, everyone in Popwell's safe.
Okay, good.
I'm a civil guy, but Liam isn't, you know, he's in the fight game.
Yeah.
And I think those words come out easily. I don't think he was... it's not a professional thing to say at the end of the day, and it's not an excusable thing to say, but I don't think he meant it. Obviously, he didn't mean it. He wasn't serious about it. It wasn't like a declaration of an intention to actually kill someone. I just think if his head is already in the fight, he's in the zone, he wants to hurt someone, it just kind of fell out.
And they also come from very different backgrounds.
Yeah, exactly.
Chris Eubank Jr. went to a private school. He lived in a mansion. That is not the case for Liam Williams.
You probably get expelled from your private school. you tell anyone you want to kill him on the playground. Do you know what I mean?
You probably would. They'd probably try to kill you with a butter knife. But let's talk what's next for Liam Williams. To be honest, and I will be honest, I had my money on Eubank before the fight. I love Liam. He's been on the podcast. He's a great guy with a lot of heart and a lot of passion. But after the loss to Bruno Andrade, I wasn't sure he'd be able to stop Chris. Is it the end of Williams? I find it hard to believe that it's not. I agree with Barry Jones, who said, "What on earth has happened to Williams? His punching resistance. What's happened?" Yeah. And I also agree to an extent with Billy Joe Saunders, who tweeted, and not that you can really take anything that Billy Joe Saunders says seriously, but who tweeted that if you've been outboxed by Eubank, then you know you've had a bad night. What's next for Williams?
I mean, I think he can still perform at that level. You know, he had moments in the fight where he was getting the better of Eubank. That doesn't mean that he's obviously better than Eubank, because, do you know what I mean, the scorecard showed that he didn't. So I think he's found his level. I think that's what it is. But by no means should that mean that you have to retire when you found that. But I just think he's hit a ceiling in his career where either he says, right, this is as good as I am, or he does everything in his power, which I assume a boxer will, do everything in his power to break this ceiling, break this plateau of opposition he hasn't managed to beat, and just try and develop. I mean, he's changed gyms quite recently before the fight, from the Ingle gym to now training with Adam Booth, and obviously it's only been recent with him. So maybe as time goes on, as the months and years go on, and he stays with Adam Booth, maybe Booth can unlock something from him and get him that extra development he needs to be beating opposition like Eubank. But we'll see, you know, time will tell. I just don't think that you get your, I think his fourth loss of his career, or his third? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was his fourth, because it was 2 to Liam Smith and 1 to Demetrius Andrade. So the fourth one there, I mean, that just shows you're in competitive fights, and all his losses have been against world-class opposition.
Yeah, I still don't think he's going to get another world title fight, though.
No, I think that's probably out of it now, and I think this fight was a decider for that.
Yeah.
Was like, who is going to get another chance in their career and who isn't. And now it looks like Eubank will and Williams won't. But, you know, if he still trains and fights as hard as possible, like, his career depends on it, because it does.
It does. And that's the only way he knows how to put bread on the table, how he earns money. That's all he's ever done, boxing.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's done stuff on the side, but boxing has always been his bread and butter.
It's always the main part, and, you know, he can make that his focus now more than ever, because now is a more important time than ever. He needs to show that he can have better days at the office than what he provided Saturday night. It's just a shame it didn't all fall into place. It would have been fairy tale stuff, having it in Cardiff, having all the home fans cheering him on. But it didn't work out that way. But that doesn't mean he should say goodbye to his career yet. He's still young. I think he's either 29 or 30. So he's got a few fights left in the tank, and, you know, even if he doesn't win them, you know he's going to bring the fight. He's coming to win, and it's always exciting with him.
Yeah, it is always exciting with Eubank as well, because as for what's next for him, if it's Conor Benn, how crazy would that be? I don't think it will be.
Yeah.
We know that Conor Benn wants to recreate history and fight him at catchweight level. Eubanks responded to that and said it's a couple of years off. Benn needs to fill out. More realistic option is probably Gennady Golovkin, the IBF middleweight champion. But again, Golovkin still needs to fight Ryota Murata. So I doubt Eubank will wait around for that. You've got Billy Joe Saunders, the man who handed Eubank his first ever defeat way back in 2014. An all-British title fight. I think it was Ben Shalom that said that's all people want to see, like below AJ and Tyson Fury. That's the fight everyone wants.
Talking up a big game though with that fight.
Yeah,
saying that,
again, a lot of people want to see it, but I don't know if that's going to happen. And there's also maybe even a score to settle with Kell Brook. Should he beat Amir Khan on the 19th? A bit of payback for him stealing the Golovkin fight in 2016. And then there's Bruno Andrade as well, the man who Liam Williams lost to at the back end of last year. What's next for Eubank? Plenty of options. I think it's about choosing the right one, the one that's going to work, the one that can actually work. But I don't know what's next for him.
I mean, he's got so many options as you listed off then, but that's the thing. We've seen a lot of inactivity in his career before. That's why, do you know what I mean? He's, 32, 33, and he hasn't had the best opportunities. As you say, he lost the chance of having the Golovkin fight, and Kell Brook took over, but
that was 6 years ago.
Yeah, exactly, and there hasn't been much level from him since, or much talk about him fighting anyone as big as that. And I feel like there had been so much talk of that fight over the years that if he can secure the Golovkin fight, he's going to want that, because that's going to be the one that pays the most out of all of those fighters.
And there's also, if you're fighting Kell Brook again, you're fighting a fighter that's it's all but finished.
Yeah.
What does that do for your credibility? It does nothing. At least with Liam Williams, you've got a hungry competitor in front. I give a lot of credit to Chris Eubank. I don't think Liam Williams is an easy victory at all. I think that he deserves a lot of credit for that fight. But again, like I always say, when you're fighting people at the end of their careers like Kell Brook, is there any credibility in that?
It's just a bit pointless, isn't it? You're wanting to go somewhere that you can fight someone that's going to level you up, and it's got to be career defining, and it's got to be a legacy fight now, something that people look back on in 10 years, talk about Chris Eubank and say, oh, remember when he fought him. You know, a lot of people like us, like me and you, are going to say, remember when he fought Williams, but the people who are a bit more detached from boxing need a serious one that, you know, two household names. As we said, Eubank is a household name. He needs another one right now, and I don't know how easy it is to secure the Golovkin fight, but I think he needs to try and put all his eggs in that basket, or, as you said, revenge on with Billy Joe Saunders would be. I can't see him beating him, but
would be an insane night of boxing.
Yeah, and it would be.
There's
a huge result.
bad blood there as well.
Yeah, so that is a great domestic fight, and I think a winner between those two would put the other guy on to fight for a world title then.
Yeah, it puts you on a different pedestal completely. And the whole card in Cardiff was really impressive on Saturday night.
Yeah.
Claressa Shields on a UK debut, very nice and comfortable on the undercard of Eubank and Williams. She dominated from start to finish in that points victory against very brave, actually, I thought, Emma Cousin. I thought she put up a really good fight,
Yeah.
Emma.
Did you see the beef with Savannah?
Well, that's what I was going to say. It doesn't look like Shields' IBF, WBA and WBC titles are going anywhere unless Savannah Marshall gets in there. She was sat ringside, like you said, and there was beef at the end, and it all got very tasty with those two. And you know, I know Marshall has first got to get past her defence with Femke Hermans, hasn't she, next month? But I think there is pressure on Ben Shalom to get this fight done. People want to see it, Max.
I think this is the second best women's fight you can get in the whole of women's boxing.
I agree.
Outside of Taylor and Serrano. So obviously we're getting that in a couple months' time, and there is not a better fight, because look, Taylor and Serrano are kind of battling out for pound for pound number one in the women's rankings, and the only person you can put in that number one bracket is Claressa Shields, and the only other competitor, someone that will give her her hardest fight, the only person there for her that's going to do that is Savannah Marshall. You know, we've seen Marshall beat her in the amateurs, and I don't know if Shields lost again in the amateurs. If that Savannah Marshall I might be wrong, but I think she might be the only person to beat Shields in amateur and pro. So there is no other option. There's no other option for either of them. Yeah, they can keep picking top 5 opponents like Emma Cousin, who's a great fighter as well. She's undefeated. Young girl as well. She'll go again, and probably great experience for her to be fighting Claressa Shields, but that doesn't do anything for Claressa Shields when you've got Savannah Marshall waiting there. So their paths have to cross. It has to happen. They're only 2 champions in their divisions, and there's history there, and there's bad blood there, as we saw after Shields' fight when they were talking to each other. So yeah, it's got to be done. There's massive pressure there for Ben Shalom, and he needs to make it as soon as possible.
He's the name that keeps coming up, Ben Shalom.
Yeah.
He's not going away, this guy, and actually he's got some really good fighters in his promotion.
Yeah, he's the boxer Sky Sports stable now. I think he's done really well with it. He saw an opportunity when Matchroom left Sky to do something, and he jumped at it, and he's been putting on great shows ever since. Obviously, I don't think the caliber of fighters that he has can compete with, Matchroom in the zone right now and Big Eddie Hearn, but he's done really well, and I was interested to see where Sky were going to go after Matchroom left. I thought, is that it for them with boxing now? But Ben Shalom's put his foot down and said, no, it's not, and
Fair play to him.
And it is what I got to show for it. So if he can make fights like Marshall and Shields, then that's just going to give him more credibility and more respect, and I'll not stop speaking highly of him if he can put that fight on.
Yeah, I can imagine Eddie Hearn's looking over his shoulder quite precariously. Yeah. And a big shout out as well to Caroline Dubois, who began a professional debut with a win, professional boxing career with a win over Vader Masakate on Saturday night. And again, she landed only clean shots. She won 60-54 over 6 rounds. She didn't put a foot wrong.
Yeah, no, I think you can't get a better pro debut than that from Caroline Dubois.
Was against an older fighter though.
Yeah, of course. You're not, especially as an Olympian, you're not going to be given the hardest fight straight away. I mean, to be fair, Olympians going into the pro games are much less protected and are given bigger fights more quickly than someone who might start from the ground up. But I think Dubois, if she just keeps putting out performances like that, she's going to see herself at the top of the rankings soon and hopefully be fighting for a title. But great performance from a great debut performance. She didn't look nervous at all, did she?
She's so young. I think she's only 21, I think.
Yeah.
And when, I don't know if that's right. Is she only 21?
I think 21 or 22.
Yeah, she's young. And I remember when we met her at the Olympic qualifiers, and do you remember how nervous she was?
Yeah.
And she was honestly, she was shaking with nerves, and we saw her after. I think she either just about scraped through or lost one of her fights. I can't remember.
I think she's one of the ones that qualified early, didn't she?
Yeah, and I remember thinking she was so young at the time. She was such a mess at the time because she didn't feel like she performed as well, and she's clearly grown a lot with the Olympics and with her pro debut, and she'll go far, I'm sure. And in boxing, finally, before we go on to the football, a few developments in the race for to fight George Kambosos Jr.
Yeah.
Vasyl Lomachenko tweeted on Saturday night, and I saw this, I thought of you, that he's made an offer. And that was in between the other fight you were watching, Jesse Rodriguez's win over Carlos Cuadras to capture the 115-pound WBC title. And then there's Devin Haney as well. He said he's confident. I think it was Haney actually that
tweeted Kambosos.
So I think Lomachenko tweeted and Haney was the one that spoke up during the Rodriguez fight.
Okay.
But he's also in the mix. So before we move on to football, who do you really think wins that bidding war?
I think, as I said, Lomachenko is almost like, because he lost that Lopez fight and he hasn't got his hands on a title since, but he's been beating good guys since. I just feel like he is naturally going to be put on the back burner a lot more, but I think he's a dark horse out of the lightweights now, because I think he's got the ability to beat anyone on his day. He's got the ability to beat anyone in that division, but he can't call those shots and he can't make those statements because what he says is of less value because he's not a champion. So I think it's Haney and Kambosos that are going to want to get the fight done. But I was scrolling through Twitter and saw Kambosos say something about Haney trying to duck him or Haney being scared or something, because I don't know if there's been any advancements in talks of them getting a fight. So that's the one that needs to be done realistically. When I look at this and I look at the champions in each division, they just seem as no-brainers to me. You've got Kambosos with all but one belt, and you've got Haney with the one belt that Kambosos doesn't have. Why are you not going to fight? Why is that not going to happen? Do you know what I mean?
It's frustrating because it's the only sport where you can see two very clear competitors, and you put them together and it might not happen.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre. In every other sport, the top athletes compete against the top athletes.
Yeah,
in boxing, it just doesn't seem to happen for whatever reason. So it is interesting, but it's all talk at the moment, and we'll see what happens. A lot of talk, and we'll move on to football, and We're at the Uni of Derby. We both live in Derby, and the whole Derby County situation is
it's chaos. Yeah.
It's very chaotic. It's very sad and very messy.
Yeah.
This week we've had progress. Mel Morris, the former chairman and owner, has said to Middlesbrough and Wickham, who've got lawsuits against Derby, who are trying to sue Derby. He said to them, look, to both of them, look, sue me instead. This is my mess. This is not the football club's mess. He said, I invite Borough and in due course Wickham, if they so wish, to take their claims to the High Court against me personally. So the question is, why is it taking him this long? But then you've also got to say, okay, fair play, you've done the right thing. It's taken you a long time to do it. It's all to do with the illegal stuff, but finally he's done the right thing. So it looks like there's a step in the right direction for Derby. Saying that, we've said that so many times, it looks like maybe we're making progress and we're not. But at least something's been done. Mel Morris has perked up, he said something. A lot of people still dislike him. A lot of people won't believe it until it happens. And no one's getting their hopes up because we've got until the 1st of March. We've got, a couple of weeks now.
Is that like...
1st of March is the deadline.
They've been given a deadline.
They have to have a bidder by the 1st of... They have to have, someone...
Who's going
to buy the club, and to financially take over by the 1st of March.
They're done.
Yeah, they fold. So we're working...
I did not know there was like a date on it.
It was the 1st of Feb, but they got an extension. So they're working on a very tight deadline.
They got an EEC.
Yeah, they did. They
got
did. And so Mel Morris has essentially said, look, because one of the big things about people not wanting to buy Derby is that you're buying Derby and you've got two football clubs putting lawsuits in against you. Mel Morris has said, I'll take that out of the equation, just sue me instead, which I don't even know if he can do that. I don't know legally how it works. But anyway, that's what's happening with Derby, and I went to that march before Derby played Birmingham City.
You were on reporting there.
It was just the most incredible thing I've ever done in football.
You had some crazy pictures from that, everyone with the banners. They look like an army. It looked like an army of people.
Best reaction on Instagram I've ever had, by the way. It's like I've never had so many likes on Instagram.
Yeah.
But it was...
I'm not surprised, though.
It was incredible. It was just incredible. It was you get goosebumps thinking about it. It was just remarkable how
there are videos of you running to the car.
And we were trying to get, every time we stopped to interview someone, we had to get back in front of 10,000 people marching through Derby. I've never seen so many people in Derby. And even the Birmingham fans joined in, and they were pretty disgraceful at the game, the Birmingham fans. But I think Derby got their revenge when, with 4 minutes left of the game, they scored 2 goals and it got a point out of it. But yeah,
it was I saw the goal, the second one.
Yeah, it was
bicycle kick.
Felix overhead kick, and we thought he dislocated his shoulder.
Oh I heard about that.
And I think he's okay. I think he just picked up an injury with it. I don't think it was a dislocation. But I've never seen a press box erupt like it did. Let alone the stadium. The press box erupted. It was just because everyone's backing Derby, everyone's rooting for Derby.
Yeah, you got to try and stay neutral and stay as professional as possible, but like who is going to be supporting Derby, and a lot of the reporters there are like, do you know what I mean? It's either their natural club, or because of reporting for that club over the amount of years, you naturally do they just appeal to you, and you kind of have a working relationship with them, don't you? So I'm not surprised they all. It must have been such a cathartic moment.
It was great. Even Henry Winter cracked a smile. It was great.
Yeah, that's a serious happy moment if Henry Winter's smiling.
And there are moments you don't forget. I'll never forget Felix scoring that goal, and it was the biggest championship attendance of the season as well. So what a day for Derby, and hopefully, like I said, with Mel now coming out and inviting Wickham and Middlesbrough to file a lawsuit and to take their claims against him in the High Court. Let's hope that's a step in the right direction. As for the FA Cup, were you watching?
Yep, of course. I mean, it was the first I've got to see Liverpool for, I think, a couple of weeks now.
Breeze past Cardiff, easy.
Yeah, well, the first half was, it was really poor, to be honest. I wasn't happy with it. And Cardiff did well to hold out and kind of not let us pass. I think we had 1 shot on target in the first half. And obviously, being from Wales.
Is it conflicted interest for you?
No, it's not at all. It's a no-brainer. Because I don't. Obviously, I kind of have relations to Cardiff, but it's more in the fact that a lot of my mates are fans there, and they were up at Anfield yesterday, so that they had a great time. And fair play to the away. I know how good the Cardiff fan base is, and they proved that at Anfield as well yesterday. I think they sold out the away end and they put on a great show and was giving it big into the players. So you can't fault that. Do you know what I mean? That's what you have to do, especially in the FA Cup. Try and get your team to spur on a bit of cup magic, and I guess you could say they did to a degree.
With Harvey Elliott back as well, who scored a goal and looked the best he's ever looked.
He was on fire. He just picked up straight away, like hit the ground running, and I think people forget he was starting for us before his injury in September, and was in great form then. But I don't think I've seen him play like that.
And the young kid off the bench as well. I can't remember his name, but he looked really, really good as well. The youngster coming through, who came off the bench with Elliott. So Elliott came on, and then he was. I honestly can't remember his name, but he looked great as well.
I don't know. It was early kickoff. I was still going to have a sleep. I know we had Cade Gordon on the bench.
Yeah, I don't know who it was.
Forward, but I think he stayed on the bench. But we had Luis Diaz come on.
That was it.
Yeah. Got an assist straight away.
Looked really impressive.
As Cardiff were like a bit discombobulated at the back, they didn't know if it was a foul or something, and Diaz just came in straight away. Instinct, that is a winger's instinct. Take the ball off, play it into the box. I think that set up Minamino's goal. So he looks everything we want him to look like. For I think when you put all the finances together, what we paid for him is near 50 mil. So you want that, but it's just an immediate impact from him, immediate impact from Elliott as well, and that's perfect. That's what I need to see in Liverpool players coming off the bench.
That's what you need to see in the FA Cup. Yeah. I know you said you had a poor first half, but you took the game seriously, where Bournemouth didn't against Boreham Wood, West Ham didn't against Kidderminster, and it's Newcastle didn't against Cambridge in the last round.
For these upsets, isn't it?
It drives me. Chelsea didn't get to Plymouth. It drives me crazy, especially Scott Parker and Bournemouth really wound me up. I love the fact that Boreham Wood beat Bournemouth more than anything in the world, and I'm going to look straight into the camera. Luke Garrard will be a Premier League manager. I promise you, Luke Garrard will manage in the Premier League one day. But
you've heard it here first, people.
Yeah, you have, and he will. But Scott Parker, I was so disappointed in Scott Parker. That Bournemouth were unlucky. They had a goal that was completely fine, and they ruled it for offside. It wasn't offside; it was a goal. The amount of times they should have scored in that game. Boreham Wood rode their luck. Luke Garrard admitted that Boreham Wood rode their luck, but it drives me crazy how you can start against a dangerous side like Boreham Wood, a second team, how you can field a second 11. Where's the respect? One for Boreham Wood, two for the competition, and three for the paying fans that go to that game. You want to watch decent football, and you want to watch your team comfortably beat a National League side. I do not understand it, having seen what happened at Kidderminster the previous day. With Kidderminster, they were so cruel what happened against West Ham with the two late goals. Declan Rice celebrating like Michael Jackson was pathetic as well.
Yeah, he was. He's full of passion.
But no, it drives me crazy. And Boreham Wood, the giant killers, David beat Goliath, and too right, they deserved it. 9 changes for Bournemouth. I've got in my notes.
9 changes.
The complacency is unfathomable. Yeah. Unfathomable. 74 places between the two sides. And you're getting knocked out. For Bournemouth, if I were a Bournemouth fan, I would be fuming. But as for Boreham Wood, so much praise for them. They haven't conceded a goal in all 5 games so far. I think they're the only team in the FA Cup that started. I think they're the only team in the FA Cup that didn't come in I think this round or the last round that hasn't conceded a goal so far. But like I said, Billing should have scored for Bournemouth. Christie should have scored for Bournemouth. Solanke should have scored for Bournemouth. But it doesn't matter, because that's the magic of the FA Cup.
That's what happens, isn't
Luke Garrard was in tears at the end, and at the end of the day, it was 11 men versus 11 men, and Bournemouth didn't show up.
That's what it can boil down to sometimes, especially in this cup. And yeah, as you said, you would have thought Scott Parker would have taken notes from the previous games, from what he's seen to other clubs.
Yeah, they were slow, they were passive, they lacked authority, they were flat, they lacked energy. So disappointed in Scott Parker.
That's the thing. I see, like, I understand as well. As if you put yourself in the shoes of a manager and think that it's February, kind of coming just off the end of January and Christmas, busy schedule for any team. So you're gonna want to rotate, you're gonna want to shuffle players around, but 9 changes. That's just a joke. That just shows you the complacency and the fact but that's what I love. Parker thinking, I'll put out a second team and probably breeze past Boreham Wood.
It's the beauty of the FA Cup. It's the magic of the Cup.
It's insane. I love seeing upsets. And,
no, so do I. I love the underdog story, but at the same time, it's one of my big bugbears. Like, as much as I love the underdog story, I hate the fact that managers of these bigger clubs like Bournemouth and David Moyes at West Ham. They just don't take. Maybe it's not David Moyes. Maybe it's the players as well. Then they don't take these games seriously because they assume they're going to go and breeze past these smaller clubs that are dangerous in their own right. Boreham Wood are only the 10th non-league side to make the 5th round since the Second World War. And they showed exactly why, and really happy for Mark Ricketts who scored the goal.
Yeah, I was going to say, as for the goal scorer, isn't it like his second goal in 200 games or something?
Something like that.
Crazy.
And he's getting on a bit. But it even goes down to Bournemouth's goalkeeper, Freddie Woodman, who we've got a mate who's a Bournemouth fan. I said to him, what is going on there? Every time he got the ball, he looked nervous. He kept kicking it out of play off the park. So yeah, so many things that you can talk about with that game. But at the end of the day, Boreham Wood are through. They're playing Everton in the next round.
Huge.
The chairman's a massive Chelsea fan, so they're going to Goodison Park. They're going to come up against Frank Lampard's Everton, and it's fairy tale, and it's a fairy tale. It's why I love the FA Cup. It's why it's my favourite tournament of football. So it was a great weekend, and for Forest as well.
Is that? Would you say it's your favourite tournament in club football or the whole of football?
Whole of football.
So
love the FA Cup. It's given me
over Euros and World Cup.
Oh, completely. I love the FA Cup. It's given me great opportunities, great memories.
Yeah.
I remember going with Barnet to Brentford to Sheffield United. Just so many memories I've got with attached to the FA Cup. And saw Chelsea beat Liverpool in the FA Cup final. That was great when Andy Carroll thought he'd scored and he hadn't. So yeah, I've just got
not good memories for me, but
exactly.
But as long as they're nice for you, no, that's good though, because you ask most football fans, they're gonna say like World Cup or Champions League.
I just think it's so special.
There is just something different about it, isn't there?
And like, who knows? If Borough would beat Everton, they're in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. It's crazy.
I would love for them to just. Let's pray for Frank Lampard to have just one bad day at the office. I know his first game was amazing.
Yeah, they breezed past it.
4-1 against Brentford.
Yeah.
But let's just hope something goes wrong at Goodison. Obviously, I'm going to hope for Everton to lose anyway, naturally. But you can't watch Bournemouth do that and not have a little soft spot for them.
Exactly. And I think the whole country will be rooting for them against Everton. But that'll be a great game. That's on 2nd of March, I think.
Yeah.
I was just going to say as well, if you watch the Forest game, just another example.
Oh, yeah.
Another example of a manager going to a ground in the league below, and I've no idea why Brendan Rodgers thought, and maybe he didn't. Maybe the players didn't seem up for it at all. The Leicester players, and Nottingham Forest played them off the park from start to finish. Yeah. I think Steve Cooper's a brilliant manager. Saw it with Swansea last season. Yeah. Swansea's team last season were a mid-table team, but they had Steve Cooper, who, when he got to Nottingham Forest, were in the relegation zone, and now they're pushing for the playoffs. He's brilliant. So
yeah, he does leave an impact. And I've watched a couple Forest games. I've watched the Derby Forest game, and obviously they played really well there as well. So yeah, it's as you said, it's just another example of not necessarily, it's not as big a giant killing as Bournemouth and Bournemouth, for example, but it's still true to how Premier League sides can just be complacent in this cup. But fair play to Forest as well. That's the same tournament that they beat Arsenal in, so they've got Arsenal and Leicester on their body list of teams that they beat in the FA Cup. That's, you can't fault that. Fair play to them.
See how far they go. But I think that's it from the boxing and football. It's been a mad week of sport and a mad few weeks of sport. Rafa Nadal and the tennis, the Winter Olympics kicking off, Chris Eubank, the FA Cup. Now we're back to the Premier League, and I think we've got midweek action, and we've even got a League Cup final to look forward to in the not so distant future with Chelsea and Liverpool.
Yeah,
so
that's this month, isn't it?
Yeah,
this month.
We'll talk about that nearer the time. But yeah, cheers for listening, guys.
Yeah.
Again, it's great to be back on the Middlemen podcast, and we'll always bring you as much as we can.
As much as we can, when we can. New uni term starting literally from tomorrow, but the podcast isn't going anywhere, guys. Just bear with us. Maybe sometimes going might get tough, and we'll be able to get as much content out there. But ideally, me and we talk about this, and we say every week. Ideally, sometimes it doesn't go to plan, but I always find that when we don't have an episode like that close to each other, we just have loads more stories.
It's true.
And they just make for better episodes because we just catch up with with crazy energy and with crazy headlines. So I'll start watching more of the Winter Olympics as well. So
Yeah, I think I'm going to as
whatever
well.
stories come from then I don't come in here. You say, "Oh, did you watch the Olympics?" Like,
That's to be fair. I haven't watched a lot either.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll try and get more clued up on that, so I can tell you about how many backflips the skier done one time to get a gold medal.
Cool. Nice one.
Thanks for tuning in, guys, and yeah, we'll see you soon.